Hey, what's up, guys? Stay Research here, bringing you some World at War, Makin S&D. Um, yes, as promised, fellas, dudes, bros. I'm gonna talk about my experience as a ghost hunter. Now, I chose a longer vid. It's gonna be a longer vid. It's good game S&D, nothing spectacular, but it does give me my canvas to allow you guys into the day in the life of a Minneapolis paranormal investigator. So, how it all began was I had a genuine interest for a while, kind of following and watching shows like The Ghost Hunters on Sci-Fi and stuff like that. And I'm always kind of person who always enjoys kind of the macabre, I don't want to use macabre. That really just kind of has an odd term. I don't know. It makes it feel kind of funky, but what I mean by that is just kind of an interest in the unknown. I've always had a fond taste for things that are unusual. So it's something that not everybody is involved in, something that's kind of groundbreaking and this and that. Well, I thought that this was kind of the case with the paranormal investigating that was happening and watching the shows, and I just had a genuine interest for it. I thought it was really interesting. So me and a friend who actually shared that same interest, began a group out of Minneapolis at the time. The name of the group was called RED. Again, we needed a witty acronym to make sure we weren't being outdone by TAPS, the MinPig. There's all kinds of acronyms. It's almost as though it's like a YouTube channel. If you're posting COD videos and you don't put up commentary, you're kind of weird. Same concept here, you want a neat, fancy acronym that makes it cool and fucking edgy, right? So, we named it RED, which stood for, and this is actually, it tied in well because we actually believe this, but which stood for the Residual Energy Detectives. Cheesy, I know, but wouldn't make a fucking bomb t-shirt, wouldn't it? So, yeah, we began the group. Began with us literally designing a web page from the ground up, and doing that. And what ended up happening with that is we put the web page up. We bought ourselves some equipment. Things that we had were things that I still actually own. Handheld cameras, so camcorders, infrared blasters, which are if you're in total darkness, infrared, of course, is part of the light spectrum, and certain cameras can pick up that light. It's not visible to the human eye, and we're able to do that and see those things without any light. And so that camera, it's a blaster, just kind of floods the area with ultraviolet. Well, not ultraviolet. I guess it could be considered that, but it's infrared. So, yeah. So we had that, EMF detectors, so electromagnetic field detectors, things that measure fluctuations in the energy field. So it's just kind of a little meter. It's just some of them are analog, some of them are digital. We had both, and it's just a gauge. So it just measures energy movement, electromagnetic fields, which is essentially energy. What else do we have? We had some other equipment too, things like there's no real term for it, but it's a radio that just kind of continually fluctuates and moves. It circulates, I think, 5 channels every second, and it tries to basically give the paranormal, or spirits, if it were, for lack of a better term. I shouldn't use paranormal too loosely because the term paranormal actually just stands for above average. So I don't want to too loosely use paranormal. I need to refer more directly, so spirits can speak through that device, type thing. There's things like EMF pumps that actually put out energy, so they actually pump the air or the surrounding environment with electromagnetic field, which is thought to allow energy to be drawn by the spirits to help communicate, things like that. But this is all boring to you, I'm sure, because the equipment's actually just whatever. I did a couple private investigations. When I say private, they were just investigations where people reached out to the group and asked us to come out and investigate their homes. I want to tell you this too, by the way. I am, and began this as a skeptic, meaning that I don't believe in ghosts, okay? The goal for me was to not be a skeptic by the time we were done. right? Because I wanted to experience something like that, you know? Can you imagine the conversation, the ideas that would pop into your head if you saw basically a transparent figure move in front of you? And someone else saw it too, just to confirm you're not fucking nuts. You know what I mean? Can you imagine what that would do? Having already analyzed the world for what you thought it was, and then seeing that, and now the questions you would have. You know what I mean? So that was the whole goal. And that's the passion and the drive behind why I began doing it. But anyhow, so to move on, we had a couple of cases. One in particular, I'll bring this up to you. This is something that actually occurs more often than you would think. But we went out to this lady's home. She lived in a city. It was quite far away from Minneapolis, actually, about a 45-minute drive from where we lived, north. And drove up to her house. Nice home. Single mother of two. Live-in boyfriend, much younger than her. Experiences were the daughter, who was the elder daughter, so she was about 12 or 13 years old, was experiencing things while she slept. She was being touched, so on and so forth, right? The guy who was living there too was waking up with marks on his back and this and that, and the mother was essentially experiencing things while she slept, weird dreams, things like that, right? They heard noises, bumps in the night, routine stuff, right? So we go out there, me and my buddy, and we have him sit in the basement while we investigate upstairs. We do some, in fact, something I forgot to bring up, but EVP work, which is electronic voice phenomena. So it's thought that sometimes spirits will communicate in a frequency outside the human ear's audible range. Whether it's extremely low decibel or an extremely high decibel, it's outside of what we can hear, yet we can pick this up on certain recorders, whether it be voice recorders, camera recorders, things of that nature. So we ran some of those EVP cycles and so on and so forth, and the first time we went out there, we really didn't come up with much. We went down in the basement. We do this at night. You don't have to do it at night, but we did it at night, lights out, you know, pitch black. It's thought that, you know, again, this is the field is so loosely, you know, there's no science involved, right? There's no controllable factors here. No one's running these experiments in a controlled environment. This is not science. It's hobby, right? So, you know, we did the best we could, and we didn't come up with much, you know. We went back out to the home and sat down and talked to her and told her what our findings were, and it was nothing. And we said, keep an eye out for everything and let us know. We'll stay in touch. And so it turns out, it was pretty interesting, but what turns out is the fact that we come to find out when we were out there, we were actually kind of hanging out with them a little bit and chit-chatting, and they were having a couple of drinks, and the boyfriend brings me outside because I smoke cigarettes, and so does he, and so we go out and smoke a cigarette, and he pulls out a bowl and starts smoking a bowl in front of me, and again, I don't drink or smoke, and right there and there, I knew that some of these things might be more human related than we ever thought, right? So for us, the findings kind of tuned up to the fact that the guy's got some chemical issues. It wasn't just the, you know, I'm not going to obviously say someone's an alcoholic or an addict because they're having a beer and smoking a bowl, but this was definitely kind of an issue for this guy. We don't know what else he was taking. You know, obviously there could be pills involved and things like that, but I definitely think he's got some chemical issues. I don't think he was all the way there. I think he was definitely a few buns short of a baker's dozen. You know what I'm saying? So, right then and there, I knew that some of the things he was saying and doing was to draw attention and to deflect some of what might be considered, you know, actions that you'd be held responsible for, in pointing the finger at this entity, quote unquote, that existed in the home. The daughter being 12 or 13, all she'd have to do is say to her mom, hey mom, I'm feeling really uncomfortable, I think the ghost is here, and the mom let her go stay over at a friend's house. Well, when I was 13, if I could use an excuse like that to go hang out all night and fucking drink and fuck a dude, I'd do the exact same thing. You know what I mean? So I summed it up as that. You know, this girl is probably either A, just doesn't want to be here with the boyfriend and the mom and shit just feels weird for her, or she's just trying to get an excuse to get out of the house, you know? Either way, it's not paranormal. You know what I mean? It's not above average. Not above average for a kid to lie to their parents and go out and get drunk, you know, whatever. And the lady, I just think she was just really trying to keep everybody even keel and got caught up in everything. But some of the story is there's absolutely nothing paranormal in that house. The most paranormal thing was the guy hanging out, smoking a bowl, drinking, and doing whatever, and he was fucking nuts. So, But that kind of leads me into something else. We began to branch out as a group, and we actually were able to, at one time, we went out to a place called the Stanley Hotel in Estes Park, Colorado. What that place is actually, if you guys are familiar with the author Stephen King, that hotel was actually what inspired him to write The Shining. If you haven't seen The Shining, the movie, it's a phenomenal movie. It's fantastic. It's a great movie. But this hotel actually inspired him. When Stephen King went there with his wife, they were there on the last day of the season. Well, I guess not the last day, but the very end of the season. They were there for a couple of days or something like that. Only ones in the hotel. And they had some very, very interesting things happen to them while they were there. Instead of chopping it up and giving you guys the wrong story, I don't even want to go into it, but the stories definitely helped influence his book, The Shining, which is an all-time classic. So we went out there with the Ghost Hunters, actually. We went out there and investigated with Jason Haas and Grant Wilson. A couple other people, some known people were also out there as well, some known investigators, some tech guys that are thought to be very influential in the field as far as the devices that they bring to the table for use in the paranormal investigation field. And we spent about 5 days out there. If you ever get an opportunity to watch the very first investigation of the Stanley Hotel that TAPS does, and there's a room in there where a table is actually lifted and shifted while someone's sitting at it, and this is caught somewhat on camera. And I actually spent about 6 hours in that room by myself in the pitch black, praying for something to happen, you know. And unfortunately, in my experience at Stanley Hotel, I didn't experience anything at all. As sad as it is to say, yeah, we made a trip out there, spent the time with those guys, and it was a really cool experience, do not get me wrong. I had a lot of fun. Hanging out with Jason and Grant was a blast. There's another guy that does a radio show here in town in Minneapolis. His name is Dave Schrader. He does a show called Darkness Radio. He was present for it, and so I got to meet with him, and it was cool, man. It's really cool. It'd be like going to a Call of Duty convention, right? You know, and being able to meet, you know, Hutch and hang out with CNanners or whoever your favorites are. Whatever, not even your favorites, but just people that share that same passion that you do, people that do a lot for the field and bring it to the forefront. And so it was a really cool experience, you know, to do that. But unfortunately, my dreams and aspirations of seeing the paranormal with my own 2 eyes did not occur. Nothing weird happened. The weirdest thing was some psychic chick that she said she was a psychic. And side note, I don't believe in psychics, but some psychic chick was talking about how she had this worst depressed feeling and she needed to go, and she started getting all dramatic, and I thought she was a big fucking slut, to be honest. I don't really care, you know. It's like, you know, get the fuck out of here, bitch. You're really starting to annoy me, kind of thing. So sorry, rejuicing the pipes here. But yeah, really neat experience, and we thought we had captured some evidence, but I'm extremely critical of the things that we do get on tape and film. And after doing some kind of, we tried to reenact basically the environment and make the sounds that could have possibly been made by a human. And we found out that they were more than likely a person, and you know, that was just outside the door or something like that. Yada yada yada. But nothing spectacular. Nothing to make me say, oh my God, you know, ghosts are real. And unfortunately, in none of my experiences that happened. And what kind of ended up happening is life. Life ended up happening, and priorities had to change and adjust. And you know, the group kind of fell to the wayside, and the website closed, and we kind of didn't make the spike. You know, we didn't really make the cut. There's a lot of very popular groups that still exist. TAPS being one of them. There's a new show, not new. It's been out for a while, but newer to the public, and people are starting to catch on to it. Ghost Adventures Crew. Those guys are really interesting. Again, they're very, very, I don't want to use science at all when it comes to this, but to compare them to TAPS, they're a lot more, you can tell, they'd be like, going in with those guys, even though they have a ton of equipment, one of their very first investigations, they just went in with camcorders, you know, something you or I could do just on a whim, you know, and so they're a lot less engaged in it, I guess, as far as gathering evidence to try and use that and to try and build a data base, I guess, with different factors that could influence things and things like that. But again, no way, shape, or form am I trying to imply that any of this stuff is science, because it's just fucking not. You know, anybody who has any amount of time in school and educated and getting that understands that this is about as far from science as one could get. So it was a hobby, plain and simple, and tons of fun and tons of, and don't get me wrong, I still, people want to go out with me all the time. People know that I still do that for just a hobby. It's something fun to do, and you know, friends of friends still contact me to ask me if I can go out and do something with them like that, and if I know of anywhere to go. And we're actually going to go out and do this building here not too long. Maybe I'll bring you guys some footage, you know, post it up here for you, just so you guys can see what it's kind of like, you know, what it really is like when you're out there, and just to kind of keep you guys in the loop. But yeah, man, that's my hobby, man. That's something I like to do. I've never brought that up. It's not because I didn't want to. It's just because I kind of forgot, you know. It's just kind of something that's been in the past, and, you know, just kind of forgot about it. But, yeah, I'll bring some more of that stuff to you guys and keep you posted on any updates with that. And sorry for the slow-paced gameplay. Pretty campy, whatever. As you can see, the players changed like 19 times, and I don't know how the game stayed in, but it did. So 15-1 World at War, Search, Makin Day. And, yeah, I'll keep you guys posted. Thanks for listening. Any questions, post them in the bottom. This is something I'd love to talk about with anybody. If you have anything you want to say, ask me. Please feel free. I'd love to discuss it with you. So, again, thanks again for watching. You guys are the best subscribers on the planet. And research. Vamonos.